This is Larry Talks, but we're not here to talk about rugby league. It's Sunday night, and there's a big fixture list of Premier League about to drop overnight. So I thought, why not tap into the nostalgia act and bring back Tom. Tom, happy Sunday night, mate. How are we?
Yeah, very good, very good. Dealing with the heat that is on offer for us in Sydney here at the moment, which is a bit tricky to deal with. But we're just discussing there. Monday morning could be a good one if Arsenal do drop points.
Yeah, I can't believe how hot it is. I mean, I'd love to be in the cold of England right now. It's just Sydney. This might be the weirdest summer on record. I feel like it's just we're operating in extremities. It's either absolutely stinking hot or it's raining.
My issue with this heat is that one day it's raining, next day it's 40 degrees. My lawns, I'm telling you, I'm doing it. And you've been over in my place. I've got a really big backyard. I'm telling you, I'm doing it twice a week. And that's like letting it go. I'm letting it go. It's needing doing twice a week, and it's just climate change. That could have a word with anyone. We very much appreciate it because I'm losing money.
That's completely fair. But anyway, we are here to talk about the English Premier League. So the title of the video is Manchester United in a title race. Now, obviously, there were some really favourable results that happened over the past week. Obviously, Arsenal dropping more points. Arsenal drew to Wolves, and we were very critical of Manchester United for doing the same. But there you go. Even the champions-elect dropped points to Wolves. Chelsea had a draw during the week. City obviously crawled back up, but yeah, is top four on Aston Villa obviously dropping points as well. Are Manchester United in a title race, Tom? Is there a world where Manchester United could actually be Premier League champions come the end of May?
Look, how long do you want this podcast to go for? Because the simple answer is obviously a no. However, in regards to entertaining the discussion, I think after the initial, when we're looking at it and the feel, I think it was maybe after the second win under Michael Carrick. I think it was their first game City, then the second game Arsenal, if I remember correctly. When you had those 6 points and there was one or two results around, you started to look and you think we could be within 10 points or under 10 points within a week or two. And you think, okay, let's say you're in 9 points with, say, 13, 14 games to go. You think, okay, there's teams you have to jump over, like Aston Villa and City, of course, which makes it hard. But points-wise, you could argue if the team coming first had a little bit of a collapse, yeah, Man United points-wise were within reach. Now, that hasn't eventuated. One or two results sort of haven't gone our way, and we had to almost be near perfect to entertain a title race. That hasn't been the case with the draw to West Ham. But points-wise, and you look how bad this season has been, which I'm sure we'll touch on in a little bit, it's not that bad if we want to compare it to whoever's going to win this league. We've finished second. Under Jose Mourinho, we'll probably finish further away in that season where we finish second, further away from the champions than we will do this year. And we're probably going to finish fourth or fifth this season and probably closer to whoever wins the league.
No, well, all things considered, I don't know if we'll finish that far away. I mean, so I'm looking at the table now. So United still to play Everton Tuesday morning our time. But we sit on 45 points. Arsenal lead on 58 points. All things considered, 13 points, 4 wins and a draw away. I mean, okay, Arsenal obviously are going to win more games, so we won't get too ahead of ourselves. But
that's what I mean. Is that game does that take into account now at the moment? If we beat Everton, does that draw it back to 10 points?
Yeah, that's right. So that's the thing. Like, we're really not that far away, and I think it was tongue in cheek perhaps 2 weeks ago, but Arsenal have kind of had a wobble about them for a little while now. And in fact, I'm prepared to say it was the Manchester United result that perhaps was the catalyst to what we're seeing now. But can we talk about Arsenal for a little bit? They might be the most obnoxious fan base that I've ever experienced. Is that fair? Or is that a bit too harsh?
Look, a lot of fan bases would point that finger at Man United, and Man United fans have a sort of a famous label saying not arrogant, just better, which sort of plays into that narrative quite cheekily. But look, it's interesting for Man United fans dealing with this title race and Arsenal and Manchester City. And I think we've got to the stage in recent years where Manchester City have been so dominant, and you start to see their titles rack up. You start to see Pep Guardiola's titles get a little bit closer to Alex Ferguson. My big fear is starting to see Phil Foden creep up on Ryan Giggs in regards to Premier League titles. That's a debate we're going to be having in a couple of seasons. So when you do look at that as a Manchester United fan, wherever you are around the world, but especially if you are in Manchester, you have to side away from wanting Manchester City to win the title. You have to say, okay, look, Arsenal aren't ideal, but we need to stop City's sort of their momentum and their creeping ground on Manchester United. So, okay, we'll have Arsenal win the league. Lesser of two evils, we'll take it. It's got to be bad in terms of dealing with their fans online, which is the way a lot of us do consume our Manchester United lives. But I'm in agreement. I can't deal with Arsenal win the league. But like in theory, yes, I do want Arsenal to win it because of this, all the points I just laid out in regards to Manchester City closing ground. But I'm a very firm believer, Larry, that if Manchester City win the title on a Sunday night here, on a Monday morning, I'm not thinking about it. I'm not hearing it. I'm not getting any shit off Manchester City fans. I'm not seeing any parades. I'm not seeing any photos of them with a trophy. It will be yesterday's news. And I can deal with that. Okay, it's going to be bad. In 30 years' time, maybe Manchester City have more trophies than Man United. I'll look back and think, oh, geez, they were dark days. But in terms of me dealing in my day-to-day life, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, it's going to be better for me if Man City win the league because won't have to deal with Arsenal fans, and I'm very torn. So in theory, I would say I would prefer Arsenal to win the league, but I'll speak with my heart at the moment. I wouldn't mind saying Manchester City just for the sake I could sit back on a Monday morning and consume hourly content of Arsenal Fan TV having an absolute meltdown.
Oh, Arsenal Fan TV after the Manchester United loss. Don't worry about your hit films. Don't worry about The Notebook or The Blind Side or any other film that you enjoy watching. Arsenal Fan TV was the place to be. In all seriousness, where do you think who are your favourites for the title right now? I mean, obviously Arsenal are starting some unfavourable results. Are we going to call it a wobble? Are we prepared to call it a wobble, or do you still think that they'll see it out? There's a big game at the Etihad. I think it'll be in March. It'll be Man City at home to Arsenal.
I think it's mid to late April.
Okay.
But yeah, you look 6 weeks ago, if Arsenal had a draw or Arsenal dropped points here or there, you'd still think, okay, yeah, it's a bit of that happens in a title race. It's going to have its ups and downs, but they'll still probably have enough. Just the feeling now, I have to go with Man City. And the reason being is sometimes you can sense panic. How often have we seen Man United in certain games and you get a feel for it? You get a sense of maybe what the manager says in the press conference. You get a certain mistake a certain player makes that sort of happens far too frequently, and you get a feel of what's going to happen. Sometimes you get a sense that a group of players have a bit of panic in them and they're feeling a little bit of pressure. And sometimes we just lazily say, oh, the team's bottling it. They can't deal with the pressure. With Arsenal, okay, the results are starting to potentially prove that, but you can almost see a visual on their faces when the pressure builds up. You can almost see them react a little bit differently, whether that be the defeat against Manchester United and one or two things. We're all body language experts when we sort of watch football. But you see Declan Rice and you think, oh, geez, hang on, he's not quite right there. You see their reaction after Wolves. And it just, the visual it gives is they are feeling the pressure. And that is obviously the narrative that is sort of labelled at Arsenal. And at the moment, it looks like it's to be proving true. So, look, yeah, I think it's weird because this season you look, Arsenal are dropping points. Arsenal have never capitalised on City dropping points. The facts are the facts in front of us. Manchester City have dropped more points than Arsenal this season. Arsenal are ahead of them. So City aren't the team that they once were. So if you're a betting man, you might say Arsenal, but the feel for me is Man City are favourites.
I think if you're a betting man, you're backing Manchester City. I've had an issue with the way Arsenal play football all season. And in fact, I know there's been a lot of conjecture around their set-piece threat and criticism about their opportunities or their inability to create open play goals. And I wonder if Arsenal have been riding their luck in that respect. I think that if you're going to win a Premier League title, you need to be able to have threats all over the park. I can't remember a season where Manchester United ever won a Premier League title and didn't have a goal-scoring midfielder, for example. Or a year where we didn't have more than one prolific goal scorer. Arsenal don't have any of those sorts of players.
The only time I remember a team not winning, and I'm sure there are more examples, maybe Man United, you could go back and look at goal scoring records and make a case. But I remember Manchester City, it wouldn't have been the treble because Erling Haaland would have been there. Might have been the season before they won the treble or the title before that. I think Gundogan played as pretty much a false nine, and he might have been their top scorer in the league with 8 or 9 goals. But they had sort of goals from all areas. So that's the last time I really remember a team without a striker go on and win the league. And Arsenal definitely do have that feel. But I heard a stat, and look, this stat, I did hear it, and it did seem like it was coming from a reliable source, but I completely forget the number. But I think it is, which is funny, but it's also scary in regards to a debate you can have around football and the evolution of football and sort of the way we can improve the game. But Arsenal have spent 117 minutes this season taking corners. Like in terms, I was watching them against Wolves, and they had a penalty. that corner in the last, it must have been an injury time just before Wolves scored the equaliser. It took them about a minute and a half to take it. And look, respect to them. If they want a time waste. If Man United needed time waste to get over the line, I'm all for it, of course. But it was just a horrendous view of it in terms of, look, they're top of the league, of course, they're getting points, fair play to them. But the visual of watching them and the feel of how they go about their business does not tell me Premier League champions. I see Manchester City, I see Pep Guardiola on the sideline, I say, okay, he's a Premier League winning manager. I see Erling Haaland up front, he's a Premier League winning striker. I see Donnarumma, while he hasn't won a Premier League, okay, I see a Premier League winning goalkeeper. Every individual at Arsenal, I don't see a Premier League winner. I could make a case, of course, in the form that he's in or form that he has shown this season. Declan Rice, in my opinion, could be a very valuable squad member for any Premier League title winning team in the past. If he's at his best, I could see him getting into a squad, maybe not a first 11, but him contributing to a title. You could argue the 2 defenders that they've had this year. Now, maybe it's systematic as to why they're so good, but Gabriel and Saliba have been solid this year. Do you put them above any other Premier League winning duo at the back? Maybe not. But every individual I see at Arsenal, I don't see what I would feel is to be a Premier League winner there.
You've put it perfectly. They just don't. Sometimes we've got more data and statistics in sport and football than we've ever had before, but the eye test always is the greatest marker. And at the end of the day, you watch Arsenal play and you just don't feel inspired. Player. I like the word aura, Tom. There are certain players that you look at them play and there's just aura. I think of Zinedine Zidane at the World Cup for France. I think of Roy Keane against Juventus. I think of Wayne Rooney against Newcastle or Manchester City. I don't even need to tell you what year those events took place. You're picturing them in your mind because those players have aura. They win in moments. Arsenal just don't have that. Only their fans would be the ones to overhype, because I'm going to say overhype because I think it's the right term to use. Like Bukayo Saka, sorry. I wouldn't take him at United. Seriously, what winger would you drop at Manchester United for Saka?
Look,
I'll take Dortmund.
Look, over the years, I've never. Obviously, he's a good player. Player for England. He's a Premier League player. Of course, he has talent. I'm not debating that. And I'm sure if I was an Arsenal fan or if he was at Man United, I might have a different view of him as a footballer. I've just never seen it with Saka. In regards to, okay, he's the poster boy for Arsenal and he's their main man, and some of the players I have seen for Arsenal over the years, if he's your best player, that's why you're not winning Premier League titles. Now, I'm not saying he's their best player. I'm not saying he's the reason they haven't been winning Premier League titles. But, yeah, I don't see it. He signed a new contract and fair play to him. And, of course, he has something about him. He has a good sort of goals record from him, maybe not in recent times, but he may be deserving of it compared to other Arsenal players in regards to being rewarded with a new contract. But look, I wouldn't say similar to Manchester United, but you look at a Saka and yet we're having these debates. Oh, is he that good? Is he that good? How many times have we had that debate about Marcus Rashford? You look at a Victor Gyökeres, how sort of people clamoured over him in regards to, he's the big money transfer. But that's what I mean. Like, that's the signing Man United fans want, or Man United fans usually go get. Then they arrive at Manchester United and you think, geez, why'd we go get this guy? Now, Arsenal are certainly dealing with that, with a Saka who might be like Marcus Rashford, or a Gyökeres who looks like a failed Manchester United transfer of previous years. So I'm not comparing the two clubs. They're both in very different situations. And if you could take your pick of where you'd want to be at the moment, you'd rather be in Arsenal shoes, of course. But, yeah, every time we discuss Arsenal in regards to the chat we're just having now, it just points to Manchester City just having maybe not even enough to win the title, but Arsenal not having enough to win the title, and by virtue, that means Man City going to lift it.
Yeah, you and I've spoken about this time and time again. It might be the weakest Premier League that I can think of in recent memory.
Arsenal fans got
2016
really
sticks out.
wound up.
Hey?
Look, Leicester, you have to sort of put that in its own discussion. But you do look at the quality of some of the Leicester City players, and you could make a case in regards to what some of those players went on to go. And this is, it sounds disrespectful, of course, you're saying they're the worst Premier League champions ever, but you obviously are going to have to be something about you, and obviously some type of quality and greatness to you to win a Premier League. But I don't even mean it, and I don't think when the footballing world says it's the worst Premier League champions ever, I don't think anyone actually means it in a disrespectful way. It's just the reality. Someone has to be the worst champions ever. You're still going to be a good team. You're still going to be Premier League champions, but really, someone technically has to be. Is it going to be Blackburn? Is it going to be Man United's 94? Obviously not the 94 team, but Man United's 12-13 team. You could make a case it was for Michael Carrick and Robin Van Persie. I'm just thinking, I do look at Arsenal, and I don't see, as I said, I don't see a player who gets into what I'd view a Premier League winning team, and by that I mean a Man United treble winning team, a double winning team, Arsenal's Invincibles, Jose Mourinho's Chelsea's team, Pep Guardiola's Manchester City teams, a real what you'd view as a Premier League winning team. As I said, Declan Rice is a squad player. I'd listen to that. Anyone else?
100 million for a squad player. There you go, Arsenal. And that explains exactly why you're in the situation that you're in. Let's talk about Manchester United, Tom. We'll get to Jim Ratcliffe's comments in due course. But I want to give Ineos a little bit of credit here. When everything was kind of unraveling with Ruben Amorim, if you look at what Michael Carrick's been able to do with the same group of players in terms of reverting back to a more traditional setup, you can argue back 2, back 3, back 4, with and without the ball. I think we play with a back 3 at times anyway. Most teams do, so a conversation for another day. But the players that we've bought in the last 18 months, I'm just going to list a few names off to you. Mazraoui, Matthias de Ligt, Patrick Dorgu, Benjamin Sesko, Brian Mbeumo, Matthias Cunha, and Lamans in goal. You look at those signings, it's not a bad name I've listed off. Everyone's been a really astute signing. From somewhere between okay to really good. You've seen a new manager come in, different philosophy, different system, different way of playing, and every player still seems to fit. Do we have to give Ineos some credit here in that they're making better footballing decisions than the Glazers ever did?
Well, there's no doubt. Look, it's hard because ultimately you judge on results, and you look at results since they've come in, it looks like it has got worse. But if you isolate all the little sort of intricacies of the business we've done in both ins and outs, there's no debate. It has been better. That we have done better business. In regards to, I wasn't an advocate for selling Scott McTominay. Of course, everyone knows my thoughts on him. He should be starting for Manchester United in midfield. But you look at that business. Now, you look at what he went and did in Napoli. Maybe we should have got 200 million for him. But we've got good money for Scott McTominay. We have got, for an academy product, good money in Alejandro Garnacho. We are going to get not as much as we should, but we're going to get money for Marcus Rashford. And you could argue, forget the money side, we're starting to get rid of personalities we might not want at Manchester United, which is something we've sort of hung on for far too long in previous seasons in regards to players who have sort of stunk the place out on and off the pitch and have just sort of hung around like a bad smell. It looks like we are willing to take a loss and bite the bullet on those sort of issues and sort of try to move forward. And you look at the players who have come in, you can make a case for all those signings individually to be, at the moment, or in their early days, you just put in the category of good signings, and good signings with the potential to hopefully go on and prove to be a little bit better signings. I'm still very mixed on Patrick Dorgu. Fantastic goal against Arsenal, which I absolutely love, and I've got on repeat. And if he goes on to become a great Manchester United player, he could be a Man United legend for me. I don't see it with Patrick Dorgu. As much as I don't even dislike him, I do like him. I've got a lot of time for him, but as a footballer, I'm yet to quite see it. But everyone else you have mentioned is, you'd say looking good. Now, a new manager comes in, whoever that be, whether it be Michael Carrick or someone else in August, and suddenly they're not playing too well, we're going to look at that as failed transfer business, and we're going to sort of jump on that merry-go-round once again. So for the time being, you'd have to say in regards to that tiny facet, which is a big factor, or which is a big area of Ineos's sort of role at Manchester United. Obviously, sort of other issues we can get into in a little bit, but in regards to the recruitment and improving the football on the pitch, while results haven't told us it has improved, I think whether it be the eye test or however you do want to define the discussion we're having, for me, it has improved. Now, it was a low bar. They could only really improve it. I don't think it could get worse than the Glazers' process of sort of trying to improve the football department. But I do agree. It's been a step in the right direction in regards to our business in the last 2 years.
On Patrick Dorgu, so he's 20 years of age, and you and I have been quite critical of him when we've spoken of him. And look, he was poor at the start of the season. Let's not pretend or rewrite history. 2 good games against Manchester City and Arsenal don't change that. I think you're right to say the jury's out. But I think, and with this way, I do want to give Michael Carrick some credit, saw something to say, I'm going to deploy him as a winger. As a more traditional outside foot left winger, it has to be said, which we just don't see in modern football anymore. And he's been quite effective. Now, in saying that, we've seen Dorgu be effective against 2 sides where Manchester United forfeited possession. I think if it was against teams that sit in a lower block, there'd be a much more, I'll say, ill-disciplined performance, to be kind. He needs to work on his close control. It's as simple as that. I think the ball bobbles a bit too much for a Premier League level player. And he's 20 years of age, though. So, I mean, there's time to tidy that up. This isn't a prime Lukaku we're signing. I think he's got age on his side. All the reports are he does extras in his own time. So, attitude spot on. I've never watched the Patrick Dorgu performance and said he didn't run enough. I think he gives his all, so you can't fault him there. But definitely some work to be done.
Sorry to interrupt just before you move on, just on Dorgu, just sort of interrupt, but the case you could make for him, and we've had this debate, a wider debate in regards to football. Football goes through trends, and sort of the way the game is played. The last 5 years has been playing out from the back. I do think football now is starting to look towards a trend of being a little bit more physical and a little bit more direct. And look, I do want Man United to continue to bring in very good footballers, but maybe in 5-10 years, the prototype of what Patrick Dorgu is, that might be the player that sort of succeeds in football in regards to sort of his physical attributes. So maybe, I'm not saying that it's a masterstroke by Ineos in regards to getting these players in, but there could be a role. Fingers crossed, hopefully he does prove me wrong as a footballer and improves. But every squad needs different types of players, and he's definitely one that does have extremely impressive physical attributes in regards to he's an absolute beast, and he's non-stop, and the effort and attitude is there. So time will tell. The jury is very much out for me, but maybe in 5 years, Patrick Dorgu is going to look a world beater because of the way football is going.
Yeah, that's a really valid point. And to the discussion earlier around the quality of the Premier League, and I got a few more questions about Manchester United that I do want to ask you, and we'll get into Jim Ratcliffe's comments in a minute. It's really disappointing and frustrating to see that there's no specialists anymore. To your point, football's becoming more direct because footballers seem to operate in 2 extremities at the moment. They're either really technically sound and your centre back is got as good as a first touch as any of your midfielders, or you've got the Patrick Dorgu mold, which is just you got a big, strong, fast, physical athlete. That seems to be the football prototype today. We don't have any specialists anymore. I was going through the Premier League's top goal scorers. And in the top 20, there are 3 strikers. Danny Welbeck, I can't pronounce the guy's name from Brentford. Igor, is it?
Yeah, Igor Thiago.
Igor's right up there, and Erling Haaland. in terms of pure centre forwards, they're your three. Everyone else is a winger, number 10. And I think that's an indictment on the game that we've lost and coached specialists out of the game, and it's bad. It's bad to watch.
I agree. We've had this discussion many times, and not just which striker is obviously the one your eyes do gravitate towards, because they're the match winners. They're the one who do capture your eyes in terms of scoring goals. But everyone, in regards to no defenders defend now. They're all midfielders who come back and keep possession. Fullbacks can't really defend. Trent Alexander-Arnold is widely regarded as the best fullback in world football at the moment. Is he? But just thinking that's what he is, and I think midfielders now, yeah. Well, I think midfield is a wider debate in regards to, was there always specific roles in regards to a 10 and a 6 or an 8, or was everyone a box-to-box midfielder? I think that's where there's room for discussion in regards to a jack of all trades or a master of one. But yeah, you're right in regards to strikers. That was the appeal, I think, of the race for Benjamin Sesko and Victor Gyökeres. They look like an old school prototype of what a centre forward should be. Now, whether they develop into that and sort of show the fruits of that over the course of their time at their clubs, who knows? Fingers crossed for Man United's case, Sesko does. But they look like they should be a striker. If you go back and look at take Erling Haaland, who's been an anomaly out of this, take him out of the discussion. You look in the Premier League the last 10 years, maybe Harry Kane, you could throw Harry Kane in there. But the goals have been wide players. That'd be Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah, those like that. And I just think it's the way football is at the moment. I said football goes through these waves. It goes through these trends. Maybe in 10 years' time, it's going to be nothing but big centre forwards who are sort of dominating the game, and they're scoring 95% of your goals throughout a season. Football does change. It does change very quickly, and but at the moment, it does. Your mind sort of does wander back to the 90s, and you go back to early 2000s. That sort of peak Barclays era. People always talk about, and you go through the 20 teams. The top striker from pretty much every team. Whether you're playing for Southampton or Bolton or Aston Villa or West Ham, every team he's a handful. So even if Man United are playing a team at the bottom, you got Kevin Davis today. This is going to be there's a chance that he could rough us up and Bolton could win this 1-0. Now, who's West Ham striker? I couldn't tell you. Who's Wolves striker? I couldn't tell you. Who's Burnley striker? I couldn't tell you. And I live and breathe football, and I can't tell you who the strikers are for these clubs. And that is probably the damning indictment.
It definitely is. I remember a game it was definitely under Sir Alex. It might have been. I remember it was a Boxing Day game, and I want to say it was against
Newcastle. Boxing Day had to be Newcastle.
That feels like that the last couple of years. But there was a game against Wolves. I'm certain it was a Boxing Day fixture, and it would have been in Sir Alex's, not his final year, maybe it was in the final 3 years. And I remember Wolves went down that year. And the striker who scored, can't remember his name right now, he finished the Premier League season with 16 goals. So that tells you the quality of striker that there was back in the day. I hope those days do return. Michael Carrick, how are you feeling at the moment with him? And I say that not just in terms of the results, and we'll talk about Everton. I think that's a natural evolution of this conversation, but let's look at who's probably fallen out of contention. Thomas Tuchel has just signed a new deal with England. The timing seems really odd, I have to say, on that one. I can't figure out why England would renew or extend his contract right now.
I saw a good argument. I forget who it was, maybe The Athletic or someone on ESPN. It was a panel show. And they made a really good point in regards to, they thought, and who knows, only Tuchel and then the FA do not understand the logic, but it was a case of the contract really isn't nothing. It was just to take away the speculation of a Manchester United throughout the World Cup. Their first game of the World Cup, and the whole press conference is about, are you the new Manchester United manager? Would you take the Manchester United job? So suddenly if he has that contract, those line of questions and that narrative sort of isn't really sort of present at the World Cup. Could be anything, who knows.
So you think there's a world where that was all scripted?
If England go out of the group stage, which they're England, that's a chance. You think he's staying for another 2 years?
No, but I think that's really unlikely.
Oh, look, I'm not saying Thomas Tuchel is the next manager. I'm just thinking contracts aren't worth the paper they're written on these days. And I think we'll all sort of become accustomed to that. And I just think it was a good argument that the person did make in regards to that. Now, that's not to say he won't honour that contract, but you do look at if Man United come in for Thomas Tuchel. Now, there was discussions in previous seasons. Was it before Eric Ten Hag or was it before Ruben Amorim? I forget when Man United were actually quite close to Thomas Tuchel.
After he won the World Cup, the FA Cup.
Maybe those bridges have been burnt and maybe there's a bad relationship, so maybe there's just no future for that discussion to happen. But if Manchester United is put on his table, or England, he's managed England at the World Cup, now it's time for Man United. He's not going to stay at England if Man United come to the table. That's like I said at the start, not arrogant, just better. No one's staying in the England job if Man United are knocking on your door. So, I don't buy much into that contract. But in regards to our discussion as fans, in regards to, as I said, seeing who's on the table, it does look like Thomas Tuchel is off it now. I don't know where Manchester United look now. And look, it's a wide discussion which we're going to be having in great detail in the coming months. But where would you look? Because I wouldn't say he was at the top of my list. I'm at the stage, Larry, you know me, I don't have a list. I don't care about a list. I don't care who the manager is. Just for God's sake, players start performing. But if I had to, gun to the head in regards to looking at a CV, I'd listen to a discussion around Tuchel. I'd say, okay, yeah, I can see something there. Okay, he's won stuff. Okay, I have a go at Man United. Other than that, do you want the Bournemouth manager? Do you want Eddie Howe? Do you want Glasner? I know Glasner's won some things with Crystal Palace, but is that Man United? I'm just thinking, where would you sit if Thomas Tuchel's not there? And Michael Carrick's not the man? Where do you sit?
That's the thing. I don't really see a plethora of options. The only one that I could, if they could pull it off, would be Carlo Ancelotti.
I agree. But I think we all say that. I think all football fans of every club, I'm sure, and Burnley fans would love Carlo Ancelotti. Man United fans have always said Carlo. It just never feels like it makes sense, like from Carlo Ancelotti, at the time, he never really looks compatible with each other, both in the club.
He managed Everton, Tom. So I mean, if he was willing to go to Everton, I think he'd be willing to go to Manchester United.
Look, I'll take him, but I just don't see, and not to say he's past it or anything, but you do have to suddenly start to look at his age, and he's not the youngest. Does he want the sort of pressures? We all know what Solskjaer said. I think when he was the Everton manager, maybe was that when Solskjaer was managing Man United. I forget the time frame. But Carlo Ancelotti and Solskjaer are both on the sideline together, and they're having a bit of a disagreement with the fourth official. And the fourth official said, do you want Solskjaer's job? You're that close to his technical area. And he said, no, too much pressure there. I'm just thinking, so there has always been that little bit of a connection between the jobs. And you look at his CV, I mean, I'm sure if we're weighing up managerial careers, if you do want to say one manager has a better career than Sir Alex Ferguson, you get throw Carlo Ancelotti as that man. So potentially the greatest manager of all time. Obviously, that's why not have that at Old Trafford and see what happens compared to what we have had in the past. And I wouldn't say no to it. It's just I cannot see that one happening.
Okay, so if we can't see that one happening, then Carrick's the man for the job. Because the thing is, I'm not a fan of interim appointments because they create these sorts of issues. Right, but Manchester United, rightly or wrongly, chose to sack Ruben Amorim midway through a season and appoint Michael Carrick. So once you do something like that, if he now gets favourable results, let me put it to you this way. If Michael Carrick gets Manchester United to 4th or even 5th, I don't see how they can't give him the job. Because he's performed to a higher level than the guy he replaced. So he's already bettered his predecessor. 2, he in 5 games, he has demonstrated and just created some visceral feeling that feels like Manchester United again. I don't think you can ignore something like that. You want a PR win, especially after Sir Jim's shitty comments? It's a quick win. And the other thing is, every other viable option outside of Glasner is at the World Cup. So are we really going to appoint a manager who's not going to start their job till July when we're meant to be going on pre-season tour? It just doesn't seem feasible. So for all of these reasons, I think it has to be almost Carrick by default.
look, that's where I would lean at the moment. And look, as I said, that's my preference. Now we go and lose the next 6 games. My opinion might change. Of course, we're very fickle in regards to that. But the evidence we do have so far, that is where I would lean. And obviously, I do love Michael Carrick. How can you not, as a Manchester United fan? All I would say in regards to that PR and what the thought process of board members or the people that are in charge of this decision would have in their mind, while it be a different situation at a different time, go ahead with Michael Carrick in regards to how can you not? And it's the best job interview of all time in regards to sort of proving his worth in the position and in the office of Manchester United manager. But the bed has been made. We have done this dance before. Again, a different time, a different era, a different situation. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, of course. But you just know after 2 losses what it's going to be like. And I just think that is, now we want strong leadership from the recruitment department and the board and the people in charge to sort of get through sticky situations like that. But that's a hard ask for the club to say, we've done this with Solskjaer, let's do it again. And when it goes wrong, we do know how this fan base will react. We know how the media will react, because it will go bad at some stage. Well, we are not title challengers yet, albeit the title of the podcast. But I just think when it does get bumpy next season, it's such an easy line for negative fans or for the media to draw comparisons to Solskjaer, and shit sticks.
Okay, you got valid point.
I sit here wanting Carrick. I sit here agreeing with you that Michael Carrick should be the next Manchester United manager.
No, you're playing devil's advocate. I understand that. What I would say as a rebuttal is, if Manchester United, let's say they don't give Carrick the job, he finishes somewhere between 4th and 8th, okay, and they don't give Carrick the job. If they then bring in someone else, that manager may fall out with Kobe Mainoo all over again. Then you've got the risk of he might favor other players over someone else. So you've got that point. The second point is, what happens then if they appoint someone else and then it goes to shit again? So to your point about, shit stinks and it could be a repeat of Solskjaer, well, the option outside of choosing Carrick is to do what they just did with Ruben Amorim. And that is bring in a new manager who you're going to stick with, give him the keys to the castle, and just see what happens. And I think Ruben Amorim is actually a really good coach, but just perhaps too young in his career for the opportunity he was given. And then it didn't work out. So
it's my whole point every single season, whether it be Jose Mourinho, Solskjaer, Erik ten Hag, Ruben Amorim, now Michael Carrick. Now, if Michael Carrick is replaced, and obviously it won't be him being sacked. But let's say, okay, him not get the permanent job. Let's put that in the second category. Okay, he hasn't got the job. We've brought in someone to replace Michael Carrick, even though that's technically not what would happen. Let's just say that's happened. It is why I always sit here and say, don't sack the manager, because the next guy's not the solution. Might as well stick with this guy. We've got a little bit of evidence, so let's sort of ride this race. Let's get through this together for a couple of years. And that is a huge joke.
I've had some thought about this. Everyone always says Manchester United are rotten to the core. No matter who the manager is, the results will continue until it's all fixed, yada, yada, yada. And to an element, I agree with that. But there is a world where Manchester United can be successful on the pitch despite the noise of it. And I say that because we've seen it at other football clubs. And the other thing is, I can look to every single manager where it's gone wrong and said, I feel like we were 1 or 2 decisions away from getting those right. So, for example, Jose's 3rd year. Jose wanted to move on Luke Shaw and Paul Pogba and Anthony Martial. I think there's a world where we move on those 3 players and it works out for Manchester United. I think under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we finished 3rd, we finished 2nd. We signed Jadon Sancho, Rafael Varane, and Cristiano Ronaldo. In hindsight, don't sign Cristiano Ronaldo, sign Erling Haaland, sign Caicedo, and who else did he want? He wanted someone else. Because Solskjaer's come out himself and said all of this.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the 3rd player. Pretend that in that summer, instead of signing Sancho and Ronaldo, we signed Caicedo and Erling Haaland. We just came off a season where Cavani had scored 17 goals. Haaland learns off Cavani for 12 months. Then you give him the number 9 shirt. You put Caicedo in a midfield with Fred, McTominay. You drop one of those out. You put Caicedo in. Probably Fred who comes out. Suddenly, you think, do those signings change the fortune and will of Manchester United? It was
not even the 1 or 2 of Manchester United. You look at one. You just said there, okay, this decision and that decision. The unfortunate reality of where we have been as Manchester United fans in the last 10 years. 10 years, the best part of 10 years now, is an absolute golden era for our two biggest rivals. They have had the one or two decisions go in their favour. So you take those maybe one decision away from Manchester City, or Mohamed Salah not working out from Liverpool, but a Jadon Sancho working out for Manchester United, and suddenly that flips. And at the moment, if it was Chelsea and Tottenham winning Premier League titles over the last 10 years, would still be very disappointed, would be sort of right to be pointing fingers in our backyard as to why Manchester United aren't where we should be. But it being Liverpool and City being so good, sort of winning Champions Leagues, winning Premier League trophies, that has been a huge drain on the Manchester United fan base. If it was someone else, we would sort of deal with it a little bit better. But us having an issue and seeing our rivals celebrate and be joyful is part of the... It's not Manchester United's issue, but in regards to the feel around Manchester United, that hasn't helped things. I do think we would feel very different about our... How many clubs would die at... Look, our bad period. This is our bad period of this last 10 years. 99% of other clubs in England would die to have been in our position in regards to the silverware we've won. We've won a Europa League under Jose Mourinho, League Cups, FA Cups, and I just think it hasn't been that bad. By our standards, yes, and where we want to be, of course. But I do think we would look at it very differently if City and Liverpool weren't the ones winning titles.
Yeah, it's a really valid point. And you're right. It could just be a case of football goes in cycles. This isn't Manchester United's cycle. It was meant for another club or other clubs. Yeah, it's a valid point. I think Manchester United will win a title in the next 5 years. I feel like Ineos are making not perfect decisions, but enough good decisions that I think our fortunes will turn around. And the other thing is, I don't want to hype up a 15-year-old, but there's a lot of good young talent coming through at Manchester United at the moment. And I think we've got...
Not fear, and look, it's a valid discussion and a wider discussion I'm sure we'll have in due course, but you talk about Ineos and their recruitment and their strategies and what they want to do. Again, this is not a fear, it's just a concern and a reason to question and look at what is their theory or their goal with the academy. Because I'm starting to think bringing in these Cheeto Obi-Martin, whether it be even an Aiden Heaven for $1 million. If we sold Aiden Heaven now, and we want to sell him to West Ham or to Everton or to Crystal Palace, I'm telling you, people would laugh at this. You look around the grounds and what other players are going for. I'm selling Aiden Heaven for £40 million. I think Manchester United could do that. Now, probably in regards to the current club, let's say 30 million. We brought him in last year for $1 million. If Ineos, it makes sense. I don't agree with it in regards to the way Manchester United should be run, but that is how football clubs do operate at the moment. And if you could sort of make that type of business and whatever that looks like for the financial people in regards to the books, which is so important in regards to sort of FFP and all that nonsense, you can see why Ineos are going about that way. And whether you sell Cheeto Obi-Martin now, you bring him in for nothing, you'll probably get 10 or 15 million now for him if you want to sell him somewhere. And I just think that's not what I want. It's a bit of fear. I do want to keep on to him, but I have a feeling in regards to the good that has happened with the academy in recent times. I think there isn't a negative to come, but a difference of end goal to what we used to or to what we want as Manchester United fans. I have a feeling we're going to start selling a lot more of these products. Now, I'm not saying JJ Gabriel is going to be sold in the next 2-3 years. If you're good enough for Manchester United, you'll get your chance and stay in the team. But I just look at that, and the Aiden Heaven one is the one that sticks out in my mind. I just think if we wanted to, I don't want to, but if we wanted to sell him in the off-season, people will laugh at it. But I look around at some of the shit that gets transferred through England. If I was buying Aiden Heaven now and I saw one or two before, if he was putting those performances in for Crystal Palace or for Burnley, he would cost Man United £40 million. So I just said, why shouldn't we sell him for that?
That's a valid point. Absolutely valid point, and a true point. I think in Ineos's case, I like the strategy. I think that if a young talented player proves to be good enough for the first team, they're not going to sell them for no reason.
Yeah.
I think that what they're doing is they're almost trying to hoard good young talent, and if it works out, great, pathway to the first team, we saved money. If it doesn't work out, we'll sell you for a profit. And I don't think that that's the worst thing to do. In fact, Manchester United probably could have been stronger in that department.
And I don't really want to moan about it because we've bitched and moaned about it when Chelsea and City have done it over the last 5 years. We've said, why can't we sell our players for that much? Maybe we're now going to get to the stage where we do sell our players for that much. Now, the other side of the coin that comes with that is, well, now you don't have the player. You don't have the academy player who we're very proud of. So it's a catch-22, but it'll be interesting to see how that does develop.
Indeed. I like this comment from George. Can we bring up the United 08 versus Arsenal 26 debate again? No, we will not, because I can't believe any idiot ever brought that up. It's just ridiculous.
Wayne Rooney was. I'll bring it up because I know what you mean. But
who asked Rooney that
Rooney
question?
answered that?
I can't remember. Who was it?
Was it Theo Walcott or was it someone more recent?
It was Theo Walcott, moron.
Was it Theo? Yeah, look, it might have been.
was
It might have
Theo
been someone more recent. It might have been. Wayne Rooney was. That was just. It wasn't a disrespect. It was just a genuine. Like, no, they're not going to beat us. We'll smash them. And then even football does change now. If you put our Man United 1968 team with Sir Bobby Charlton, George Best, no, I reckon West Ham would beat them now in regards to if you combine the two teams, two eras. Football does change, but that 07-08 team would succeed in this modern era.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously,
Absolutely.
it's a lot closer. They're not 50 years apart, it's only 10 years apart. But that 07-08 team, it's for me, we've had this discussion plenty of times, for me, it's better than the treble-winning team. And if it's better than the treble-winning team, it's the best ever Premier League team of all time. And we've just said this is maybe one of the worst Arsenal teams in regards to sort of trophy-wise, if they potentially get over the line. And look, it'll be a professional game of football. You're not going to go out and smash a team 10-0. But I do think it would just be one-way traffic. I do not see a world where this Arsenal team would get near that Manchester United team.
Here's a nicer debate. So the two things we'll cover before we wrap up the video. Sir Jim's comments, and I want to talk about the Everton match. I agree with you. The Manchester United side that did the double in terms of the Champions League and the Premier League, the best Manchester United. I'm prepared to say the best Manchester United side of all time. Call me biased, but I think that's not ridiculous to say. There was a Ballon d'Or winner in that side. What team in any era of football do you think would batter the Manchester United 07-08 side, or at least put on a really competitive football match?
Well, we kind of have evidence of that. Obviously, a different team. The Manchester United team did change a little bit and got a little bit older in certain aspects. And you do look at that Barcelona team, 2011, and what they did to Man United. That's the best team I have seen. And we've got evidence against Manchester United on home soil. Well, Wembley, home soil. And, that's the best team I've ever seen. I've never felt so inferior. Not that I was on the football pitch, but so inferior on a football pitch watching Manchester United. It was just kind of laughable how good that Barcelona team was. But in regards to Premier League, I don't think the Invincibles will play Arsenal's best team when you do look at it, but you could make a case Arsenal's team 3 or 4 years before that, in and around the turn of the century, was maybe a little bit stronger or had a little bit more about them than that
Invincible team. You think so?
I do think when they're Anelka, Overmars, Adams, I just think, you'd think maybe have a little bit more about them. Like that Invincible team.
Over Ronaldo, Tevez, and Rooney.
Oh, no. I think we're a better Arsenal around 99 when Man United won the treble.
Compared to the Invincibles.
Sure. Invincibles. So, but that Man United team,
The Invincibles title is such a nothing. Like, they lost more games that season than Manchester United lost in 07-08.
When you get look, not that anyone wants to get into a debate with Ty from Arsenal Fan TV, but it's what I would love. One of my life goals, Larry, is to sit down in a room with Ty with the camera in front of us to have a debate, because when we get into whatever's talking about, he says, do you have an Invincible team? And
dream bigger time.
He sort of go to. But I would look at it and just think, and he would just repeat the same sort of nonsense, but you just have to say, no, I don't have an Invincible team. It was a fantastic achievement, Ty. Congratulations to Arsenal. I'm very jealous of Arsenal and their Invincible title. However, when we're comparing the teams, we're Invincible. Arsenal lost 6 games that season, winning 1 trophy. Manchester United, the treble winning season, lost 3 games and won 3 trophies. And I just think it's a myth that they're invincible. We have an invincible FA Cup winning team. We can have an invincible FA Cup winning team because you don't lose a game in the FA Cup.
That's why you win the cup.
Yeah. Teams that win the Champions League are always invincible. Do Arsenal have an invincible Champions League team? No, they don't have a Champions League to start with. I'm just, it's the easiest debate.
Their trophy is gold. Wouldn't you like a gold Premier League trophy? Oh, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous the things Arsenal fans say. All right, we have to go. We have to sour this up a little bit. Oh, actually, I'll come to George's comments. Real Madrid from 2016 to 2018. Here's one for you. I think 07-08 Cristiano Ronaldo was a more complete player than what we saw at Real Madrid. I think at Real Madrid he became a lethal goal scorer, but at Manchester United I thought he was the full package. He could be a dangerous winger. He could cross fathers. He could goal score. I just thought he could score free kicks. I just think he was the most well-rounded Cristiano Ronaldo was a Manchester United one.
Not sure about, well, look, I don't disagree. I'll probably lean on the side of agreeing, but if I was to disagree,
Not better,
so much
well-rounded.
I'd say better, just better to watch. More enjoyable. Real Madrid was just efficiency, which is what he's about, and fair play to him. It's what made him what he is, but I just think I've never seen that 07-08 season. I've seen some great seasons at Manchester United from individuals. That 07-08 season, I've never seen anything like it at Old Trafford.
Just the way he'd beat play, he dead set had the whole stadium on their feet. You talk about being entertained. The things like he got the ball, he just put fear in the players. It was ridiculous to watch him. The free kick against Portsmouth too. Oh, never forget that one. Anyway, I digress. Let's talk about Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Tom, and then we'll talk about Everton, and then we'll let the fine folks go to bed, including myself. His comments during the week. A slip of the tongue or an undertone of racism?
Whatever views someone does look at, whatever side of politics you do look at it, that's a wider debate for another day. And I don't really feel comfortable discussing it as a Manchester United fan because with such a diverse fan base, you're going to sort of piss one side off at whatever view you have. Even if you want to sit right in the middle, that's going to piss both sides off. So I don't think there is a right answer. My ultimate frustration with it, I look past the political view or the potential racial element to it. I do look at it and think you'll represent, whenever you walk out the front door, you're Manchester, not the owner, but let's put him in an ownership discussion, you're Manchester United's owner, you're representing Manchester United. Whatever you say, you buy a cup of coffee, you're representing Manchester United to the person sort of on the other side of the counter. You are representing Manchester United, and whatever you say, Manchester United will be tagged into it. Manchester United will be brought into it. And to bring them into a discussion like this is a whole reason why I'm against whether it be a Saudi Arabian ownership or a Qatar ownership or the USA government or the English government or the Chinese government owning Manchester United. I'm a firm believer that politics at that level in regards to an ownership should not be brought into football, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe has brought Manchester United into that. And that ultimately is sheer negligence from him as a Manchester United owner. That is something that priority number one, he should never have done, and he has done that. And there is no escape. He can't undo those words. He can't undo those views. Manchester United cannot be sort of wiped from those views. They are going to stick. Now, someone at Manchester United might share the same views. Someone at Manchester United might share completely different views. However, that is tarred at Manchester United now, and Manchester United, in regards to the view and the way the footballing world views them, share those views now because of Sir Jim Ratcliffe's comments, and that is why they are so bad. I don't want to get into the debate whether I agree or disagree. I think it is a wider debate, but ultimately they are now the views, in a layman's terms, of Manchester United, and that's Sir Jim Ratcliffe's fault.
Yeah, when Sir Jim Ratcliffe first came into Manchester United, he said that Ineos are a bigger business than Manchester United. Relatively, he said Manchester United are quite a small business. But he said, but they just have a larger reach than any business. And it's clear to me that when he made those comments, he took his status for granted. I think he failed to understand his responsibility as a Manchester United co-owner. And you know what? It came to my realization that he has become the unofficial face of Manchester United, because since Ineos have taken over, we don't see the Glazers anymore. In fact, the Glazers are barely mentioned at all. So as the face of Manchester United, he failed in his responsibility. I don't need to enter into a political debate, but what I will say is I'll cover both sides on whichever side you sit. And what I will say is this. If you think immigration is the reason for your country's issues, you're a moron. If you think there's an issue with mass immigration and people fitting into your country's societal norms, I think it's okay to be disgruntled by that. And what a natural transition that is to talking about Everton. Everton in their big solar stadium, Tom, that they're really struggling to sell out. I think they will sell it out for Manchester United, the biggest ticket in town, whether we're fifth or 15th, the hottest ticket in the Premier League. Manchester United will be wanting to secure 3 points after a wobble against West Ham.
I haven't felt anything about this new, and obviously it's going to be Manchester United's first visit there, of course, and fingers crossed we start off on the right foot. But usually when there's a new stadium or Manchester United's visit to the stadium for the last time, whether that be Goodison Park or the old White Hart Lane, there's always a feel about a stadium, especially in a new one. I haven't heard anything about that stadium. Remember when West Ham, and we're still having a debate about West Ham Stadium, but especially when they moved in, there was the narrative and the feel, and every week there was a discussion on how bad it is. And, this is a shock, and it's an athletics track. It's a shocking statement. It's so soulless. You heard West Ham fans kicking up a fuss about it. You heard Arsenal fans when they're moving in the Emirates, it's not Highbury. And I'm just thinking, I don't see it with Everton Stadium. I'm not sure, do they like it? Do they not like it? Do they want to go back to Goodison? Is it great? Do they have a good record there? Are they losing every week there? I've just heard nothing. And not that I need to hear anything about it. I honestly don't care. But we could be playing at any ground this week. I don't know whether we're playing at Goodison or at Hill Dickinson, whatever it's called.
I think it's Hill Dickinson. So I think it's just under 60,000 seats, but they've been struggling to sell tickets for every game. So clearly, I don't know what the fan feeling is, but it hasn't been good. Let's look at Everton's last few results. Are you nervous about this game, or are you expecting 3 points?
They had 10 men at Old Trafford. Obviously, a different situation around Ruben Amorim and the tactics and 3-4-3, but they had 10 men at Old Trafford and went and beat us. So, yes, I'm nervous because I've seen our players lose to their players in sort of so-called easy circumstances. So, yeah, I'm nervous, but I'm nervous for every Manchester United match. So, look, if Man United perform, Man United win comfortably. Man United are a far better team. They've got far better players than Everton. So, it's one of those ones, I think, after 5 or 10 minutes, I think the Manchester United fan base will have the answer as to whether we should be confident or not. My feeling going into it, while I do hold nerves, I find maybe once or twice a season I bet against I don't bet, but I would pick against Manchester United. This week's not going to be one of those. If I was a betting man, it would be a Manchester United win, and a lot of that probably comes down to just sheer hope in regards to fighting for stuff at the end of the season, not the silverware, but fighting to secure that Champions League football, because every discussion we've had in this chat over the last hour, Larry, has been in and around Manchester United progressing and sort of taking that next step in what we want to achieve. And it's very lazy, and sometimes people get to this stage of the season in February, March, April, say, no, I don't want European football, I want to focus on the Premier League and a title challenge next season, 1 game a week. I don't want 1 game a week. Larry, I prefer the Conference League. You know my views on that. I'll prefer any type of European football. I need Manchester United playing. And I do think in regards to a club of the stature of Manchester United and the squad size Manchester United has, we need more games. Think of the players this year who you think, geez, they haven't really played. Could you use more of them? Whether it be an Aiden Heaven. He really, if Manchester United were playing 60 games a season, he should be getting 25, 30 appearances. I don't know what he's on now. Now, he did come in when there was a bit of an injury sort of crisis at the back. But what's Aiden Heaven going to finish this season on? 10 appearances? I'm just thinking, and a lot of those maybe off the bench, but maybe it's more than that. He did get a bit of a run in.
It can't be a lot. It can't be much. And if you think about it, Lenny Euro, since he's been dropped, has barely played as well. He might be looking at 10 appearances, he'll definitely make less than 10 appearances between 1 January and the end of May. I guarantee you that.
So that's my hope in regards to wanting Manchester United to win, is that hope to go on and achieve top 4 to get us that Champions League, to make next season more appealing, whether that be for us, the viewer, or Manchester United's transfer market, or Manchester United's transfer market, therefore affecting our, fingers crossed, title hopes.
Yeah, United do need to finish in Europe. And I admit, I fell into that bracket of last year where we were doing so badly. I was like, look, if we're not going to finish in the Champions League, I'm just rather not be there at all. But having sat through what will be nearly 2 weeks without a Manchester United game, while other teams have been playing in Europe. Oh, it's been so long and brutal.
We've got an international
please
break
give
coming
us
up.
European football.
In about a month's time, there's the March international break
Yeah.
as well. So
at least the NRL will be back by then, so I've got something to distract me.
Actually, for us here in Sydney, there's also a Manchester United element to that international break. Brian and Bloomer will be here. Obviously,
yes, he will. He will. We might need to get out. As long as it doesn't clash with the Bulldogs game, I'm more than happy to join you to that one. But on that note, I'm going to say Manchester United by 2 goals. I think we'll concede, but I'm feeling a 3-1 United win. Got a score prediction for me?
What did we do at Everton last year? I'm assuming we lost, but what did we do for our last ever trip to Goodison? I should remember that. Should be a good trivia question.
I can't remember.
Last season? Someone in
I'm
the
going to
chat.
guess
George in the chat. The year before was Garnacho's overhead kick, but we've had a season since then.
Man, hasn't he fallen away, Garnacho?
Thankfully. You and me always had discussing over the years, and we try to stay positive.
So
glass half full, but I never liked Garnacho. Never.
No, he's a dick. And
even in the FA Youth Cup where he was the shining light, I said no, copy Manu and sort of Isaac Hansen, Aaron. They're the players I liked. Something rubbed me up the wrong way with Garnacho, and I never warmed to him. Albeit FA Cup final goal, fantastic, always remembered. But I'll more fondly remember Copy Manu's goal.
Had the ego of Ronaldo and the performance levels of Dan James. Just, yeah. Anyway, he's a proper fuckwit. Like there's not many people you'll look at on TV and judge their character, but you can see what Garnacho is, and he's a proper dickhead.
and it feels bad because everyone judges a book by everyone says they don't, but it's just a natural human sort of response. You judge a book by its cover, and with Garnacho, you try not to. You try to give people the benefit of the doubt and get to know them, but you do make up your mind when you first see them. And naturally, I saw Garnacho and I was like, I don't like him. And I feel bad for that because you shouldn't. You should strive your best to sort of give someone the time of day and that they can prove you wrong. Fingers crossed. But he proved me right.
That he did. There you go. I was right. It was a 2-2 draw. Manu and Bruno goals. There you go. Thank you.
That has been wiped from my memory. I cannot picture those goals.
I can't. Yeah, same here. There you go. Definitely a great trivia question. So there you go. So now that you know that answer, score prediction. Manu's due a goal, isn't he?
I'm confident the way we go forward. I'll go 3-1 United.
Nice. In the same boat as me. I like it. And on that note, I've got a video dropping tomorrow. So back to the rugby league talk. Top 10 NRL players under pressure heading into the 2026 NRL season. So that'll be dropping tomorrow at 2 p.m. Stay tuned for that one. But if you did enjoy the football talk, leave a like on the video, drop some comments in. Happy to do this with a level of frequency, whether that be fortnightly or monthly. Always enjoy talking a little bit of round ball. So, Tom, I enjoyed it. I think hopefully it cools down. You don't sweat too much and we can all have a good night's sleep.
Always, mate. Fingers crossed. And first thing tomorrow, as I said at the start, I'll be checking Arsenal's result and see if my content is sorted for Monday lunchtime.
I tell you what, George, I'll give one thing away about Hakeem Haas. He is on my list, but he's not number one. That's all I'll say there. On that note, Tom, have a good night. Everyone have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See you, mate. Still live on my end. Larry's having technical difficulties. Should be a big red button, but now he's kicked himself. Everyone's probably on YouTube watching me. But says I'm live, but Larry's out of the studio, so I have no idea how to end the stream, which I don't think I can, unless I just exit the show. I'll do my best, or I might just chat to anyone in the comments until Larry returns. Let's see. I'm hoping he returns at least to say goodbye, so I'm happy to chat with anyone in the chat, throw some comments in while Larry returns so he can end the stream. I think he might have just closed the window and not actually the YouTube element of StreamYard. So I've got nothing really to say to anyone still in the chat. But so what I might have to do, I'm going to give Larry 10 seconds. If not, I'll leave the studio myself, and then I think everyone will just be out watching a blank screen until Larry logs back in. But enjoyable, as always, chatting Manchester United with everyone. So everyone have a good day, and I'm sure I'll chat to you at some stage. Cheers.